Yes, people have just got us. So unfortunately, you probably missed
the heat.
Yeah, blame it on the heat. Right, so we'll quickly give you that team news again then, and then Paddy, you can give us your analysis again. Of course, thank you for joining us from Vicarage Road ahead of Norwich City's Carabao Cup first round against Watford. Always doing things on the fly here at the Beacon. Right, the team then is Grimshaw in goal for Norwich City, a back three of Jakov Medic, Harry Darling, and Ben Krezene, with Kellen Fisher at right wing back. Papa Amadou Diallo at left wing back, as we're expecting it, with Mirko Topic and Marcelino Nunez in midfield, and Oscar Schwartau and Emiliano Marcondes in number 10 positions, just behind Josh Sargent. Right, Paddy, now you've given all of that analysis without the mic being on us. So if you can repeat that and tell us what you make of that starting 11.
All I was saying was, basically, Liam Manning to us at Colney yesterday talked about he was going to blend rather than go wholesale changes. I think I just counted up there 5 at least of those starters tonight started the game on Saturday. So he's been true to his word, really, and to underline the strength he's got in depth of the players who didn't start, who are coming in. Nunez, Marcondes, Jallo, obviously first sighter of him in a competitive environment. That underlines, and even I've scrolled down a little further. Jurasic makes the bench. Jacob Wright, Cordoba, Schlupp. Shane Duffy's made an appearance as well on the bench. So he's been true to his word, really, that he wants to win this game. He wants to try and inject some momentum into this season as early as he can. And this is the second opportunity. Failed in terms of Millwall to get that result. Some good elements, but too much work in progress for me. So just had a message there. Matthias is ill. I'm sure there's a lot of questions there. Because
about Matthias Quistgarden,
that's a breaker. Matthias Quistgarden is ill, hence he's not involved. Because I felt, you maybe had a different opinion. I felt he might start him tonight.
Yeah.
And put that to him yesterday at Colney. But the fact he's not in the matchday squad immediately made you think that something was amiss. So Matthias Quistgarden, just to reiterate, is ill. That's why he's not involved tonight. Half expected it might be related to the Manqua-Forsen scan results, which by all accounts aren't very favourable. So we'll wait for Liam Manning to update us on that post-match. But safe to say we won't be seeing a Manqua-Forsen in the shorter term. So, but it isn't due to that. No Quistgarden tonight. That's purely illness. And staying on that front end of the pitch, well, Jallo in a wing-back role, but let's hope it's a far more aggressive wing-back role than Schlupp or Stacey managed on Saturday. Because that, for me, holds the key. There was so much debate, wasn't there, on social media about a 3/5. I don't want to see a 5. I've even seen hashtag no to a back 5 this evening. But the key for me, if it is that system, which we believe it is the wing-backs and the aggressive nature or inclination of the wing-backs. And in Jallo, he strikes me from everything we know about him as a player who's far better equipped to go forward than go backwards. So if Kellen Fisher is in a right wing back role, he was starting to add those elements to his game last season. If they can get on the front foot, then it feels like a 3 and then a 4 and then a 2 and a 1. So that's the key tonight for me.
Yeah, you've raised that system there. I think we had a question earlier on that I now can't find about. Oh, there we are. Carl wondering whether it was a 4-3-3.
Well, I thought that initially. Yeah,
and I think the club's media team actually has it as that. But we were speaking to people before the team news came out, and they said they expected a sort of wing-back formation. We saw against Breda, I know you weren't at that game, but it was kind of it could go between a back 4 and a back 5, where maybe you'd have one full-back, one wing-back slot in on one side, and the other one would attack. I think that kind of makes sense when you think you've got Kellen Fisher as perhaps a more traditional full-back who can drop into the right-back at times and then allow Diallo to go forward. But probably when they're in a rested defence, they'll be in a back 5. In a way, it kind of speaks to the way that Manning wants his team to adapt in game, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's whenever he has been asked about systems per se, I always feel he wants to kind of swerve it around to, well, it's about players, as you say there, so I'm feeling comfortable in the roles they're being asked. Now, for me, that is a far more fluid approach than a rigid 3/5 or even a 4. I look at that and I can easily see a 4, with Fisher and Krezene more in an established fullback pairing with Medic and Darling. We saw that in the early parts of pre-season, but we didn't see it towards the back end and then obviously rolling it into when it mattered, Millwall on Saturday. That's what leads me to think I don't see him necessarily injecting that degree of change to the base formation.
Yeah.
But I'm not one of those who subscribe to this idea that makes it very rigid and that players have to play in those areas of the pitch. I think it'll be far more fluid. And I go back to my previous point. The key, whether it was a back four or a back three, is the wider defensive options. If Jallow, if it is a wing back system, and Fisher are going that way as opposed to that way, then I think it unlocks what we didn't see enough of for me against Millwall in a three. When you go in a three, if you get, as Millwall did, pressed aggressively after half time, pin back Schlupp, pin back Stacey, then you can't really get out, and it becomes a five, and you end up sitting on your edge of your own box, and then you've got issues against a team like Millwall where the balls are raining in because you can't get yourself high enough up the pitch. Liam touched on this yesterday about you need to be able to escape that block and be more aggressive and try and be attacking yourself. So all of those sound bites to me feel like this is a three and a two wing backs.
Are you surprised by how strong it is?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I think you lean into, now we've seen this lineup, you lean into what he again said yesterday about relationships. And short circuiting the process.
Yeah.
That yes, it is a work. Yes, it is a process. Yes, it will take some time. But every time Liam Manning is asked that question, he says, "But we need to we need to accelerate it. We need to fast track it." How do you do that? You start to build relationships like Medic and Darling. They're the obvious ones.
Yeah.
Topic and Nunes. That's a tantalising potential.
It's a good midfield,
exactly. And Sargent obviously in that fixed nine, and can they find the two behind him in a more central role? I don't think it's safe to say Forson even pre-injury, and Cernach offered enough there as support to Sargent. You could see he was increasingly dropping deeper on Saturday in search for work, getting frustrated, I think, as well with the lack of service. Can Schwartau or Marcondes offer something a little bit more support act rather than kind of, leaving him too isolated? So, I think that feels to me like he's delivered on what he said he was going to do, which was try and get a blend of players who need minutes, who were on the fringes on Saturday, but also players who need minutes from the point of view is they're going to be regulars in the Championship, and Medic and Darling are two of those. Yeah. And they need to start as soon as they can building that relationship, that understanding. That only comes by playing together in competitive games of football.
Indeed, and obviously at the other side of that blend are a few players who maybe have been on the fringes. Fisher, probably more of a fitness thing at this stage, given the injury he had in pre-season and the fact that he hasn't had that many minutes. That's probably one of the main reasons he hasn't started yet. Ben Krezene obviously on the bench on Saturday. Oscar Schwartau, Emi Marcondes. You mentioned them. Of those players who have been kind of on the fringes but get the opportunity to start today, who stands out to you? Who are you sort of looking forward to seeing how they fare, and who do you think it's a particularly important game for out of those players?
Well, I've just flashed up Nick's point there about Medic. Yeah. I felt watching him in the game, he struggled, but I was a little bit alarmed when you actually saw the key action highlights. Yeah. And his role in those, both goals really. He didn't cover himself in glory, and he looked, for me, like he had a lack of pace when he was exposed in wide areas and going one against fast-paced attacking players. So for me, it's important tonight. I think I'd like to see a step forward from him and just a sense that he feels comfortable. And it's a championship opponent. It's a championships level game again tonight. Yeah. So in that context, can he take a step forward and look a little bit more assured than he did? It's understandable. It's a debut. It's a big occasion for him, as it was for Kovacevic. Yeah. There's no doubt they looked uncomfortable. And they need to get past that because they've been recruited as two key staples of this back three, back four. So that's the standout one. Top pitch, you'd like to see him press on again. He was bright for 20-25 minutes, as Norwich were on Saturday. But like Norwich, he faded, understandably so, in terms of he's only in the building. But if him and Nunes can get a nice blend, keep using the word blend, if they can get a nice combination going tonight, then maybe it's not a given that Jacob Wright's a shoe-in, because that's a key area of the pitch. It was a key area of Liam Manning's Bristol City side last season with Jason Knight and Max Bird. And if this system is to work, the two centre mids need to be really proactive and really on the front foot. So I guess they're the two for me. It's Medic tonight and it's Topic and Nunes. What about you, Sam? I'll throw it all back to you.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what Oscar Schwartau can do, because I think it's been kind of a strange pre-season for him. I remember the Liam Manning unveiling, and he said to us, he mentioned Schwartau unprompted in that. I think he was the only player in the squad who Manning referenced. Obviously seen with a lot of promise, only 19 years old, and looked a real talent at times last season. But with the number of attacking players they've brought in, he's kind of slipped further and further down the pecking order as the summer's gone on. And I think this is probably an important one for him, because I don't think he's in that bracket of players with Shane Duffy, Anis Ben Slimane, maybe even Marcondes to an extent, where you feel like they're just not going to be able to convince Manning to put them in his starting 11 in the next few weeks.
Sorry, Sam, we just reel off because we've had one or two comments we haven't got there running along the subs tonight.
Yeah.
Louis Molden, Shane Duffy, Jose Cordoba, Rory McConville, Jeffrey Slupp, Liam Gibbs gets hopefully another opportunity from the bench. Matej Jurasek, and I've seen plenty of comments about it. But just to confirm, he is in the 20 tonight, and let's hope he gets some action. Jacob Wright and Jovan Makama, who's really getting an early introduction into the lineup. So, I mean, there's plenty of potential there to change it up, should they need to. But yeah, I mean, the more I look at it, I'm increasingly thinking that is a 3 with Darling in the middle, with Medic and Kraseni either side. But Jallo's the one, because he's obviously, we know it was Watford who they gazumped Norwich, although Watford made message out slightly differently and said they pivoted away. But I think the reality is he plumped for Norwich over Watford. So tonight will be a fantastic stage for him to really show a glimpse of what he's about. I mean, I thought it was quite almost effusive, Ben Napper's comments when they unveiled him in the official club statement, how excited almost you could sense that he was and those around him inside the club at getting this player in the building, what he could offer, his ceiling. That you hear a lot of talk about the ceiling of these players they brought in the summer. I mean, there's a 21-year-old young man who has proven himself probably too good for the French second tier. So can he add a different attacking dimension? Because I agree, there was a comment we posted up there, and we asked Liam about it yesterday. The lack of chance creation, the lack of goal threat has been a concern for me as we move through pre-season, and it was evident again on Saturday. I know Liam pushed back a little bit and said, well, Kovacevic had 1 save, Millwall keeper had 2 saves to make, but there's no doubt watching that game, it didn't feel like they created it anywhere near enough, and that goes back to the point about the lack of support, the lack of service to Sargent. That needs to change, and change quickly, and with a player like Jallo and what he can offer in an attacking sense, hopefully he is part of the puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a few comments about Jurasek, as you mentioned there. I think one sort of suggested that maybe he wasn't part of the plans if he isn't involved in the starting lineup today, and I can sort of understand that. But for me, and I'll be interested in your take on this, Paddy. For me, given he wasn't even in the 20 on Saturday, he hasn't been in a competitive squad for Norwich for a while. For me, him being on the bench and maybe having the opportunity to play 20, 30 minutes today feels like probably a step forward. Would you say that's the case, and would you expect to see him tonight at some stage?
I would do, yeah. I would do. I don't see the value of just bringing him and sitting him on the bench.
Yeah.
So, when we asked him, I asked him, Liam Manning, after the game Saturday about Jurasek. We saw him warming up. He was doing running shuttles on the Carabao Road pitch before the game. He confirmed it wasn't a fitness-related issue, or an illness-related, as it is with Quistgaard tonight. Simply not at, in his opinion, and his opinion is the only one that counts, as the head coach, of a level where he deserved his place in that 20. That's a challenge to me, to Jurasek, to prove that isn't the case. Now, we know his backstory. We know he's been used fairly sparingly in pre-season. But we also know that he's still very highly rated inside that football club, even if he's yet to show it. Less than 90 minutes of championship football since he joined is nowhere near what you'd have expected for a player they committed, upwards of £6 million for. So tonight would be a good step forward if he got on the pitch and just 20, 25 minutes, good intensity, and then they build on that again, because that's clearly the vibe. You speak to Liam Manning, and I don't think there's any debate that Liam Manning doesn't feel he's technically a talented player. It's just that physicality, that robustness, that athleticism. They need to build him up. Oh, unsurprisingly, they may be erring on the side of caution because of his backstory has been, so interrupted and stop-start. So if that is the case, we'll see more of that again tonight. And little by little, they bring him to a point where he's ready to be a bona fide contender to start a game for Norwich, because there's no way Norwich went and spent £6 million to have him warming the bench or not even in a match day 20. Something has to change, and the sooner it can, and hopefully tonight's the start of something, then the better for all concerned. Because if not, the questions are on here again tonight. The questions are going to continue to grow louder and louder. Has that piece of recruitment spectacularly failed? And we were talking about it in the car on the way down, and you were talking about the Ricky Van Wolfswinkel parallels, but at least Van Wolfswinkel was in and he played. And he played a huge volume of games before it was evident maybe wrong fit, wrong time. Premier League maybe not for him, but we're not even getting that body of evidence yet with Jurasek. At the moment, it's still a bit of a leap of faith with him, and that doesn't suit anybody. So tonight, by him being on the bench, means he's ready to go if called upon. And let's hope we see him, and let's hope then we're talking less moving forward about what's going on here, what's the issue, what's the conspiracy theory, and it's more about no, they've just gone softly, and they're bringing him to a point where he can handle the rigours of 9 months of Championship football.
Indeed, and just finally, before we come to our score predictions, I mean, it's quite a strong team. It's a game against Championship opposition. Obviously, as you said, a Championship standard game and a real opportunity for Norwich to show what they're about. I mean, what would you expect to see from today? Do you think it's the sort of game where, although maybe in magnitude it's not the biggest of the season after Saturday, they will be quite keen to make a statement, won't they?
Yeah. I mean, Ali, we're already sort of tipping into prediction territory. Yeah. I mean, I could see that, actually. I must confess, I've not checked the Watford lineup.
Yeah.
We were too busy looking for the volume button, but I'm looking over.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, I'm looking over, and 1,700. I think they've tweeted it out, haven't they? The club officially.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a fantastic effort. I know, relatively, it's a close one. There's London Canaries, will I'm sure travelled out of the capital tonight, but 1,700 fans. They deserve not only performance for me tonight, but a result, I think.
Yeah.
And Liam Manning touched on that yesterday at his presser. I think he used the words along the lines. He's staggering. The levels of support, the level of support at Carabao Road at kick-off on Saturday. That's as loud as I've heard that place for quite some time. So, you'd hope that would be enough to drive this group of players who are more than established and experienced at 11 to come here and get a result tonight. Watford lost opening day. They've got a new coach, a lot of new players. They're in transition equally. So there shouldn't be anything to fear here. They won here, obviously, the last time they were here under a certain Dane. So there's no reason in my mind that they can't come here and get a result. But I suppose bigger picture stuff tonight, isn't it? Because for me, Portsmouth Saturday lunchtime is by far the bigger game of the two. And if we leave tonight and maybe they haven't got the result, but there's positive signs moving forward in terms of selection and personnel, then I'd personally take that. But clearly, you don't want to roll into Portsmouth and you've gone starting the season with back-to-back defeats. So, let's hope. Certainly Sargent with enough support around him is more than a good enough spearhead to get them firing at that end of the pitch. And then it's just can Medic, Darling, Kraseni and the two wing backs be solid, as Liam felt they were in the main against Millwall. Although accepting maybe the goals, they got pulled apart a little bit. But I mean, certainly there's nothing here to fear coming to Watford tonight. So I'm gonna stay positive. The sun's shining, so let's tap into that mood, and I'm gonna go for a Norwich away win. What about you, son?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna say the same. Having seen that team news, I think you look at a team of that quality, and probably you do have to win a cup game against Watford, who I think have gone fairly strong as well. I'll just quickly read out their team, because you were right to point out we haven't done that yet. Selvik in goal, who of course we know Norwich have looked at previously. Alain, Kiprianu, Ince, Bowler, Semedo, Deli Bashiru, Kayembe, Greaves, Andrews, and then finally, and this will be interesting, the man who I think Watford would tell you they signed instead of Papa Amadou Diallo, Iran Kunda, who they signed from Bayern Munich, and ended that wide pursuit of theirs. So it'll be interesting to see who fares best out of those two. I'm going to say 2-0 Norwich. Why not? Let's be positive.
Just to clarify for Will, we've touched on it earlier, but no, illness tonight is the reason why Matthias isn't involved. I think without that, we probably would have seen him, if not a start, then certainly off the bench. But illness, probably with the news about Mankel Forsen, that's why Antti Cernac isn't involved either tonight. We've certainly not heard anything, have we, that would indicate an injury or an illness with him.
Selection,
We'll obviously check with Liam after the game.
Yeah. So yeah, that to look forward to later. But you can join me on the live blog now. Paddy will be producing a match report and pointers for the morning. Loads of other good stuff on our channel. So if you haven't already, go to pinkham.com/subscribe and you'll have access to all of that. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us for today's team news. Let's hope that today lives up to the beautiful weather on the pitch. See you soon.